Yeah, I'm just gonna let this one speak for itself.
Cut.
Well, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Watch It in Action. I'm BouseFeenux, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Azima. This is a weapon that a lot of people have been waiting for because you can only obtain it by logging in for 100 days. Now, that doesn't mean 100 consecutive days, it just means 100 cumulative days. Every day you log in and claim your login reward, that counts as a day logged in. So when you get 100 of those, you'll be rewarded with an Azima, and it actually comes with a potato and a free slot, so you don't have to worry about securing those things either. Anyway, the Azima is a machine pistol secondary that features a high rate of fire, large magazine size, decent ammo economy, and virtually no recoil, as you can see here. It also has a nifty little secondary fire that we saw a second ago that deploys the entire magazine and kind of makes it look like one of these. The downsides to the Azima are lack of status and critical chance, which pretty much limit us to a pure damage build. Also, I really don't like the way this thing looks. It kind of looks like a Beyblade. But that's arbitrary, and despite all that, this little guy actually packs a decent punch. Let's take a look at the build. Alright guys, so here we are at the mod screen, and I want to take a quick look at the Forma investment as I usually do. So first off, this weapon actually comes with two polarities already on it. It comes with two polarities and a potato, so you're going to have that double capacity already, and then two polarities to kind of play around with, experiment with this weapon a little bit, see if you even like it before investing for Forma. I have a lot of Forma, so I'm able to kind of over-Forma things and try a bunch of different builds that a lot of you maybe wouldn't want to try or wouldn't want to invest in. And that's one of the benefits to, you guys for watching this stuff, is because I can make mistakes and I can afford it. You guys sometimes can't because your Forma, your resources are pretty precious to you. I'm fortunate enough to be in a place in the game to where, if I waste a couple Forma, it doesn't really matter that much to me, but I don't want you guys to have to go through that. So I try to experiment with as much as I can, and that's how I come up with some of these builds, and that's why some of them end up a little over-Forma'd. You actually don't necessarily need 4 Forma. You can get away with 3 if you go with some of the options that I'm about to tell you about. So let's go across the mods real quick, and then I'll talk about the stats here. Hornet Strike is, like you've seen on pretty much every pistol build we do. That's every mod, or every build we're going to do, this mod is on it. Lethal Torrent and Barrel Diffusion, again, 2 mods that are always on our builds for secondaries. Lethal Torrent's going to give us fire rate and multi-shot. Barrel Diffusion is going to give us even more multi-shot. So with a fast-firing weapon like this, we're going to see a lot of projectiles. With that much multi-shot, we can get 2 to 3 projectiles per shot, which is really nice, especially when we're firing as quickly as we are. It's going to add up to a lot of our damage. It's going to help us do a lot more damage than we normally would. And this weapon is fairly accurate too, so a lot of that multi-shot is going to be on target, which is really nice. But the fire rate is kind of a bad thing, seeing as this weapon has a 75-round magazine, and it's only got like 350 rounds in reserve, which isn't very much. But compared to other other auto pistols secondaries, this weapon has decent ammo economy compared to those, but that's really not saying that much. You're still going to run out of ammo fairly quick, which is why you can remove this Seeker and throw on a pistol ammo mutation. If you're going to be doing endless missions, like very long missions in the Void, or Orokin Derelict Defenses, or anything like that that is a defense mission, or some kind of endless mission that you're going to be staying for a really long time, I highly recommend these mutation mods. This thing is going to run out of ammo fairly quickly at high level. Seeing as we don't have any crit or any real status to speak of, a lot of the status here is just from the multi-shot that we've got. It's highly inflated status, which isn't really going to give us, very reliable status chance. But I highly recommend this pistol ammo mutation. I'm using a Seeker now because A, I like punch through a lot, and B, for anything planetary, or even like an exterminate up to T4, this weapon is going to be more than capable of killing just about anything fairly quickly. So having a Seeker on and being able to shoot through hordes of weak enemies is a really strong, strong positive for me. I like to have that on there, but like I said, if you're going to be doing the endless missions, highly recommend a pistol ammo mutation. Or if you don't like punch through at all and you don't want to throw this extra Forma on here, you'll actually have space for a Maim, which is a really good choice for this weapon, especially if you're going to be running 4 elements. So Maim is a really good choice. You can throw that on there and get a little bit of extra slash damage. But really, that spot, the choice is totally up to you. I feel like this down here is very solid, though. This is just the element setup that I'm using. We're going to be using Corrosive and Heat. In the video you saw before this, I was using Magnetic and Toxin against those Corpus enemies. Took them out really quick. It was a very solid combo there. But I'm using this because it's very good against a lot of the different enemies in the Void. And I'll show you a couple different damage types on this weapon and how they react to people. But really, guys, this is the build here. I mean, you see, like I said, there's really no crit chance to speak of, no status chance, really. This is all inflated by multi-shot. I actually did try a status build on it, and I found it to be very not good at all. So The damage types here, like I said, primarily slash damage here for the physical damage type, and then we have our elements and impact and puncture, just a little bit of those. But yeah, that's pretty much the build, guys. Let's go ahead and check this out in the simulacrum, and we'll talk a little bit more about this weapon. Alright guys, so we're going to try something a little different today, and I want to show you a couple different types of targets. The first ones we have here are common void targets. We have some flesh-based targets like the Ancients, the light armored targets like the Corrupted Butchers, and the more heavily armored targets like the Lancers here. And you'll notice that we can kill them, but this weapon definitely has some scaling issues into later game. In a late game, higher level enemies, it's going to be a lot harder to kill these guys because we're not going to have the scaling that status or crit would have offered us. It's just pure damage, and that is going to start to fall off, especially against these Ancients here. You'll notice that I'm having a really tough time taking them down. Next up here we have our Corpus Targets, and you're going to notice that these guys are a little bit easier to take down. The element that I'm using is very well adjusted for them. We have the Magnetic Toxin. That's going to work really well at taking their shields down, and then the toxin and slash this weapon has is going to take down their health. So you notice that we're starting to get through these guys a lot easier. They're not nearly as tough to take down as some of the other armored enemies were. So this weapon is definitely more ideal against flesh-based targets, stuff like that. And then the last feature of this weapon here, we have the alternate fire, which is the disc. It shoots the entire magazine. Now, you don't have to have an entirely full magazine to shoot this. If you have more than 5 bullets left in the mag, it'll actually launch this, and you'll get a little, spinning pagoda thing that shoots out bullets, which is really cool, but it's not very functional. I know it looks awesome. It actually does a little bit of an explosion that'll do some blast damage, which you can see out there in the distance. That's pretty cool. And then it also takes your status, your mods into account too, because we get the status procs, we get the magnetic damage, stuff like that. As a side note, fire rate is apparently what increases the length of this. So if you have fire rate mods on, the more fire rate you have, the longer you're going to have. But I highly don't recommend using this. It's not very reliable, and it's a good waste of ammo. And that pretty much wraps it up for today. This has been the Azima. Now, I'm not too terribly impressed with this weapon, and I know a lot of other people aren't. I've seen a lot of people complaining about this, but it's really hard to complain about a free weapon, especially one that comes with 2 Forma. This will actually be a really great weapon for, low-level players, newer players that are just joining the game, and they've only been playing for a couple months or something like that. They don't have a real impressive arsenal yet. This is going to be a great addition once you hit 100 days. It's really easy to max out. It's pretty reliable. It does decent amount of damage at lower levels and even at higher levels, as we saw. So you really can't go wrong with this thing. I just don't really care for the way it looks, and there are better secondaries out there that you could put 4 Forma into, but that's just me. Everybody has different preferences and different builds for stuff, but guys, I really appreciate you watching. Again, I'm BouseFeenux. This has been another episode of Watch It in Action, and I cannot wait to see you guys at the next one. Thank you so much.